Spinning Dreams. My name is Laura, and this is where I talk about knitting and spinning and hand dyeing and whatever else I happen to be making or thinking about creatively. So you're very welcome if it's your first time, and if you're a returning viewer, hi again, and let's get started. You'll notice that I'm in a new space, and this is actually my studio space where I'll hopefully be doing artwork and knitting and sewing, all the things. And so we've moved all the recording gear up here, and we'll hopefully find it more conducive to recording because we can just have everything out and not feel like we need to pack up. Before we were in the living room, so I think you can imagine that it's a little bit different being there than here. So we really like it. I hope you do too. And yeah, that's a change. We also are really enjoying the autumn weather now here in the Northern Hemisphere, and I've started to think about the colors of autumn, and I think you'll notice that in some of the things that I'm making right now, especially red. Seems to be my theme. So the first thing that I finished is the Bosc cat, actually, and I think I mentioned it a few episodes ago. It was one of the first things that I had been hoping to knit, and it is beautiful, I think. It is a pattern by Robin, how do I say her surname? Robin Ulrich, maybe? And it's a cable and lace design, and it was very simple. I could memorize the pattern repeat pretty easily. And it's kind of like a tam or like a slouchy hat. And so in her instructions, she suggested blocking it on a plate. And that's what I did. And I think it turned out really nicely. I can try it on for you, see if it messes up my hair. But I think it's so cute. So it's a little strongly blocked right now. You can see the ridge probably from the plate. But I think, you know, as I wear it and wash it, it'll loosen up a bit. But I think this is a really great pattern. It's a good one for people who are kind of new to cable and lace, maybe, because it's a small project and it's just an interesting cable as well, cable and lace. And the wool is Quince & Company Lark, and it's in the maple colorway, which is kind of a brick red with, yeah, I think it's in the warm category rather than the cool category. And it feels very autumnal to me. So I'm very happy with it, and I cannot wait to start wearing it. So I'm very happy with that make. And it was really great to have something that I could finish because, as you know, with some of my other projects, they're kind of big and ongoing. So this was really great to have as a quick knit and something I could say I finished. So that's a finished object, a recent finished object. So I mentioned last time in my last episode that I am making a quilt for me and Mark, and that's because I haven't made a quilt for myself, even though I love to quilt. I end up giving them away, and the last one I made for myself was when I was a teenager. So I thought I would share that with you. My friend Fran from Wool and Hearted, if you don't know who she is, go check her out. She has a podcast as well, and she's on Instagram, and she makes lovely bears. She was saying to me, why don't you share that on your quilt from when you were a teenager on your next episode? So I thought that was a good idea. And here it is, my quilt from when I was a young girl, maybe 15, yeah. And it's a log cabin quilt, and it's in these sweet pastel colors that I thought were just beautiful, and I still think they're very sweet. And I got this from the fabric from probably Joann's Fabrics in California, I think. And the reverse is a simple gingham, and I only tied the squares together, you know, to sandwich it all together. I didn't do any top stitching really. I tried for a little bit, but then I got bored of it at that stage in my life. So yeah, I really love it, and it's very sentimental to me. But it's like a throw size quilt. So anyway, we're ready for a quilt for our bed, I think. And yeah, I'll be making one that's a little bit different in color, but it's fun to see where I've come from with these colors and prints and everything from my teenage years. So yeah, that's my the last thing that I made for myself quilting wise. And yeah, I think it's fun to look at. Something else I did was I cast on some socks in the hopes of being, relaxed. And I have the Botanist sweater or cardigan on the go, and I have a couple one complex quilt and one easy quilt, but just ongoing projects that are probably going to be going for quite a while. So I thought, I really just want to cast on some easy socks and just be mindless, mostly stockinette stitch and just relax. And in the end, I kind of chose a more complex version of that. For some reason right now, I'm just like, I need to knit challenging things. And this actually wasn't as challenging as it looks. But I think it probably was. It doesn't fall into the category of mindless knitting. So this is the Dreaming of Paris sock by Joji Locatelli. And I saw that Kristen of Volenvine was knitting them, and I thought, those are beautiful, and I have the right wool for it, and I need to make those. And so I've got one finished, and then I've got the other one on the go here. And the yarn is La Bien-Aimée, which is a Parisian yarn, as you know. And it is I think it was a mini, and it's their Merino sock. And contrasted with Mark's handspun. He had just started to spin fingering weight yarn, and I thought, I really want to try that out on some socks, and I think it looks really cool. It definitely, his handspun has a definite weight to it that the La Bien-Aimée wool doesn't seem to have, and I think that's just the way that it's spun, and also the materials. I think there's some nylon, and it may be superwash also, the La Bien-Aimée sock wool. Whereas Mark's is obviously very rustic and just fresh from the sheep with a little bit of lanolin still in it. So it's a fun contrast though, and I think that it worked well. So one thing to note with this is that Kristen mentioned was when you're doing stripes, you can get a funny seam here on the back of, or wherever you join the color, whenever the colors switch over. And so a way to avoid that is actually through helical knitting, which is basically like you're doing a spiral of color all the way down, and you never kind of catch the colors up with each other. You're always kind of like a step ahead with a color, I think is maybe a way to explain it. I don't know. It felt like that anyway. It felt like I was never really meeting with the colors at the same spot. It was always kind of traveling around. So it sounds complicated. There are some good YouTube videos out there to show you how to do it. But I think that really improved the look of this. And you can see I have a clear red theme going on. I have my Bosc hat in a brick red, and this is kind of a wine color. And I can tell you what the color is. It's called Eric Northman, the red in here. And yeah, it's a really deep, beautiful red. So that's a Christmas make, I think. I think I'll be wearing that for Christmas or in the winter time. I might sneak them in before then. And the other thing I want to talk about related to this project is my knitting needles that I just got. So this is the cast on, the second sock cast on, and it's on holders right now. But if you're not familiar with this here, this is actually a ChiaoGoo set. I'd never owned them before. They're interchangeables, but I decided to go for it finally, and I love them. And the reason I decided to go with them is because my knitting gauge is really so loose, and I've tried over the years to improve my knitting gauge in that I've tried to tighten it or tried to make it a little bit different, but I guess I'm just really relaxed. I don't know. I just knit very loose and free. So I think I knit fairly uniformly, but everything turns out not holier, but, looser and more fluid and bigger. So the sock needles, the sizes that were available in most sets or in most knitting stores were never small enough for me. And so I finally found a set, the ChiaoGoo, I think they're called Twist Minis. Yeah, Twist Minis. This is what it looks like. The Twist Mini set has very small sizes, so I can get out the little needles, the little tips, the interchangeable tips. So you may have seen these already, but if not, it comes like here are all the little tips in the little holder, and it comes with several different lengths. I'll put a link so you can see all the details. I won't go over all of it right now, but it comes with several different lengths of cable for your cable needle, for your, like the cord between your needle tips. And it goes from 000, 000, 0, 1, and 1.5. I think those are US sizes. And then, the 1.5 millimeter, 1.75, and 2.0, all the way up to 2.5. So there are 5 different sizes there. And I used the 1.5 millimeter for my socks, and which is a 000, size 000 for the US. And I just found that really great. Like, I finally got socks that were the right tension and gauge, and I didn't need to reduce my stitch number for casting on, and I knit the size that I needed, and it came out well. So the project bag, or not the project bag, what do I want to call that? The needle bag came with this ChiaoGoo little container. And it's a little toolkit, basically. It has cable connectors, end stoppers, tightening keys, stitch markers, and a rubber gripper. I don't know what the rubber gripper is for. I'm not sure what that's for, but I'll find out, I'm sure. And it's a really good set. I am not sponsored, or they didn't send this to me. I purchased it with my own money. But I am definitely a fan, and I am so happy to have them. It's changed my sock knitting for sure. And yeah, I've been using them for other projects as well so far. So that was exciting, and just an improvement in my knitting, I think. So I'm really happy with that. Let's see, the other thing that I should talk about, which I feel a little bit like I have mixed feelings about, but it's my Botanist Cardigan. And I think I mentioned that it was a challenging cardigan for me. I knew that going into it. And I think I'm really happy that I've decided to keep going with it. No regrets, feel really good about it overall. However, I had a little bit of a trauma. I think I'm calling it a trauma. I think that's what it was. It was a mistake that I made. I fixed it, so I can't even show you the evidence, but it was basically, I've made some progress here. It was basically a mistake that happened in this beautiful, like, cabled, gathered area. And I realized that I'd cabled left when I should have cabled right or something like that. And it just was glaringly obvious to me. And I was like, no. And I started to sweat, and everything was just spiraling, and I panicked. And I undid it really fast, because that's what you do when you realize you made a mistake. At least if you're me, you just quickly undo it, and then you try to carefully put it back together. And I did, I think. I mean, I can't tell where it happened, so I think that's a success. But it made me a little bit like we weren't friends. Me and the Botanist Cardigan were a little bit on funny terms. So I put it aside and I worked on other things. So that's why I haven't made as much progress as I could have, probably between the last, since the last time I talked to you. But it's coming along and I think it's working. Like, it's gonna be so squishy and wonderful. And I cannot wait to wear it. It's a wonderful pattern, perfectly written. I picked it up again recently and I was just saying to myself, this is really well written, and if you just stick with it, you'll start to memorize some of these parts, and I am. So that feels good. So anyway, that's my Botanist Cardigan. It's not really a tale of woe because I recovered, but it was my trauma. So that's the Botanist Cardigan. And another cast on. I have many works in progress right now, and monogamy is out the window right now, and I think it has to do with being pregnant, and my to make list has just gotten so big. It's very energizing and it keeps me on my toes. But I started a baby or a newborn vertebrae cardigan, and it's so tiny and wonderful. It's so cute. And this feels more like a mindless knit to me. And I think it will be very satisfying to finish, just like the Bosc cat was. So I feel good about this knit. And it's actually some yarn that I've had, again, purchased in Paris. I have so much yarn from Paris that it's wonderful. This is a Bio Balance by BC Garn. And I don't have the leaflet or the paper for it anymore, but it's kind of a red coral pink color. It's on the red theme again. And it's a cotton and wool blend. So it's actually kind of lightweight and feels really soft, but not in the same way as like a merino. It's more like, because of the cotton content, it kind of, is a different feel between your fingers, but it's not just like, it has the wool content to make it not as sticky as cotton or hard on your fingers. I think some people talk about that with the cellulose fibers. So the newborn vertebrae is a free pattern by Kelly Van Niekerk, I think. Maybe that's how you say her name, Niekerk. And so you can download that on Ravelry, and it's very simple raglan construction, and I'm using my ChiaoGoo needles again, and I think 2.5 millimeter size, and I'm using the little stitch markers that came with the kit, which are working really well for me for this. And yeah, that should be a pretty quick knit. So I think that'll look really cute on our baby when baby comes. And I'm currently around 30 weeks, so it's not too much longer. I'm in the 3rd trimester, so starting to feel a little bit of a deadline, which is probably good. And the next baby item, actually still on baby, is the quilt that I've been making for baby. And I think you'll remember that I ordered some fabric to dye. And it's like a brushed cotton or flannel fabric from Green Fiber Company, I think it's called. And so I've done some dyeing. I have to say it is not what I expected at all, the dye colors. And I've enjoyed the process. It's been really satisfying. I'm using Rebecca Desnos's process for dyeing with soya, mordanting with soya, and dyeing up with natural plant materials. And so I'll show you what I've got. So I've been doing it in strips, and so these are both avocado, but I processed them a little bit differently, and I think you can see that they are different. One is more of a light pink, and the other one is kind of like an orangey. Yeah, it's not as smooth of a color I'm seeing. And I think it's because this one I rinsed right away, And this one I let sit for a week, which is her recommendation, Rebecca's recommendation. And I think that in hindsight, I didn't squeeze out the dye enough, and that's why you can see these lines here, I think. And I will take note of that and change that for the future. But I think they're both interesting colors. But I didn't expect this kind of color, this orangey color. And I guess that's from either the pits or the skin. One of them gives off more of an orange tone. So that's the avocado. Then I did a batch of 2 different greens from our garden. I did nettle and mint, and I cannot tell you which one is which now. I didn't label that very well, but these are nettle and mint. I'm not sure, but they're both kind of this grayish beige color with a hint of green maybe. And yeah, they're not the colors that I would choose for a baby quilt, I guess, naturally, but I'm going to use them, I think. I'm just going to keep, dyeing up colors, and then in the end, try to mix them all together into some pattern for the quilt. But yeah, I think they're just a little bit like, they do remind me of historical dyes. Like, they remind me of some of the period films that I've seen, and my husband Mark and I talk about how, well, we look like we're in the past, or this is the color that people wore sometimes. So I think it's kind of authentic in a way. So that's kind of cool. And then the last one is Logwood, which is really surprising to me. I didn't know what to expect, and it's really beautiful. The Logwood came from, I think, George Weil, or I think it's Weil website, and there are all kinds of dyes that you can purchase there, and so we got a few, and this is the Logwood, and I have some yarn also that Mark dyed up with this, and it's just such a beautiful deep color. And we modified with baking soda, which seems to change the tint a little bit, and we have acidic water here, I think, and so it was more of a pinkish orange color, and we'd been doing so much pink and orange and those kind of shades with the blackberry and the avocado, so we really wanted to get that like kind of more purple or gray color that was advertised to come from Logwood. And so Mark added some baking soda to the dye pot, and that changed the color quite dramatically. And I think it's more on the purple side, although it's still kind of a gray. So again, a color I wouldn't naturally gravitate toward for a baby quilt, but I feel good about it, and I'm going to use it, I think. And it'll be a really interesting baby quilt. I'm really kind of curious to see how it all goes together. So that's the baby quilt coming along, and I think I'm going to do a few more colors, and then I'll start playing with the pattern. So like I said, Mark was able to dye some yarn with the Logwood as well, and we can't believe how dark it is. We will probably use less madder next time, less of the dye stuff, less of the bark, because this is so dark. It's so beautiful. I love it. I love this color. It's got a bit of a purple tone to it, and it's definitely a shady color, and that it looks really dark and moody. I think I have no idea what I'll make with it, but it's just really quite stunning to me, and it's amazing to me the depth of color you can get with certain plants. And I think Logwood has tannins in it, so I think this should be light fast, and it should stay this way. I mean, we've really rinsed it, and it's a little bit damp still, so it might lighten just a little bit, but it's basically this color, I think. And it's just, oh yeah, I really love it. It's so, yeah, like I said, so moody. Perfect for the seasons coming up, I think. So that's Mark's handspun and dyeing. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was unrelated to fiber craft. It's more to do with gardening. And I love flowers and I love plants in general, but I really love flowers. And I noticed that there was this club that you could join to plant flowers, cutting flowers for cutting for your home, to give away, to make bouquets. And that sounded really appealing to me. So I joined the club, and they send you flower seeds every month, and you kind of plant them all together, like as a group. And then you can go on a Facebook group and kind of share what your progress is like. And so this month I got several different seed packs. I've already planted them, so I can't show you the seed packs, but the flowers that were included were Aimee visnaga, I think that's how you say that, cornflowers, euphorbia, nigella, and orlaya. I've never actually grown any of these, maybe cornflowers a long time ago, but these are new to me, which is part of the fun for me because I love learning about plants and how to care for them, and I think the best way for me to do that is hands-on. So I'm really happy to join the floral project, and hopefully I'll have some beautiful flowers to show you when they come. So yeah, that's my flower project. And then finally, I want to talk about the giveaway because we have definitely exceeded 100 subscribers now, and it's time to start that. So for the giveaway, I have put together a little package for one lucky person, and it's basically a project bag. Here you can see a project bag for, it's actually it's a winter theme. So if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it's probably not the right time, but I think it'll still be really cute for that season for you. It's by a lady called Nicola. From her shop is called Tea, Cake and Make, and she's in the UK, and I really liked her project bags. So it's a drawstring project bag, and it has little bears on it, and they're wearing scarves, which is just cute. And it's a forest scene, and the lining has just little like sprigs basically, and yeah, it says Tea, Cake and Make there if you can see it. And inside, one lucky winner will get a couple other gifts from Nicole, from, I think it might be actually Nicola from Tea, Cake and Make. She included some stitch markers and some tea for you, because she also wanted to contribute to the giveaway, which is really sweet of her. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And a skein of Bio Balance by BC Garn, which is the yarn that I'm using for the newborn Vertebrae. And this is purchased in Paris, so it's come all the way from Paris. If you're commenting in the end and winning this from Paris, then it'll go right back to you. But yeah, it's, I think, a good yarn for whatever season because it has the cotton content. So it might be kind of a Christmassy or a springy color. I think it's just a really good wool for all seasons. So there's that. And then we decided also to include a skein of Mark's handspun in blackberry. So we don't know how light fast or color fast this is, so we're kind of counting on you to let us know and give us feedback about this, the spinning and the color fastness and just your experience with this. But we're really happy to be able to include this, and we hope that you like it. So that is the giveaway prize. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's subscribed. And if you want to enter the giveaway, then please just comment in the comments below here on YouTube under this episode saying what you're currently creating. It can be something knitting related or spinning related, or it could be something you're working on in your artwork or in the garden or in your home for DIY things. Yeah, just whatever you are currently creating. So comment below and I will choose a winner in the next few weeks before the next episode. I will announce the winner. And we'll choose it randomly. So comment below and thank you again. And I think that's it for me today. And it's been really nice chatting with you again. I hope you enjoy whichever season you're in and the equinox, and that you are able to relax and have some creative fun. And I'll see you next time. Bye!